and welcome to the glamorous streets of Monaco, home to the rich, the famous and the very, very fast. Round 6 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship has descended on the Mediterranean coast. The Principality has hosted motorsport since 1929, but last year these streets were electrified like never before. Get ready for another wild ride. This is the Monaco E-Prix.
It's the most iconic street circuit in motorsport.
I think like every corner has a story to tell.
It's the one race that every racing driver wants to win at.
Robin's on the attack. He's through.
Good job, Robin. Good job.
He's going for it now. Oh, what a move.
Good job.
Now we're into the hairpin. Oh, and there's a contact there.
This guy's so crazy.
Da Costa to the outside and to the lead.
No stop loss.
Da Costa wins in Monaco.
Good morning everyone and welcome, and it is a beautiful morning. We have a wealth of racing experience here for round 6, qualifying for the Monaco E-Prix. Dario Franchitti, Karun Chandok, this is the one that everyone wants to win. It's the most iconic motor racing circuit in the world. Let's be honest, let's not beat around the bush. Karun, why?
The history of it. You know, motor racing's been happening here since 1929, and really the location is in many ways unchanged, right? You look at the pictures of people like Stirling Moss and Jack Brabham and Graham Hill driving up that hill towards Casino Square, and it kind of looks the same as it does now. And you know, I was very lucky to race here on 5 occasions in different categories, and just loved it. And you feel the history just walking around this place.
Dario, later on when you, Jack and Karun, are commentating not only on qualifying but the race as well, you mentioned the iconic parts of the track, and they're so familiar to us all.
Yeah, all those vistas, all those corners, all of the names of the corners, it's all so familiar, but the drivers have to ignore that. It's just a race, it's just a piece of tarmac. You've got to get around as quickly as you possibly can. How do you do that? What are the mechanics to doing that? The teams, the drivers are going to focus now on qualifying, being inch perfect for not just one lap, but multiple laps in group qualifying, and then if they're good enough to get into the duels, they've got to do it all again at a completely different power level.
And our season is interesting, to say the least. Let's take a look at the season so far, and then we'll break it down.
The 2022 Formula E season saw 3 different winners from the first 3 rounds, beginning under the lights in Saudi Arabia, with Nick de Vries taking top honours for Mercedes EQ.
The reigning champion wins again.
Followed by Rocket Venturi Racing's Eduardo Mortara the next day. At round 3 in Mexico City, Tag Heuer Porsche took a historic first victory in Formula E. It was then Destination Europe for back-to-back races in the Italian capital.
And we go green in Rome. It's a decent start from France, but I think Van Dorn will hold it.
Poleman Stoffel Van Dorn was soon involved in a game of cat and mouse with Robin Fries.
Look for France and he goes for it. France is back in the lead of the race.
But all the while, a big cat was on their tail, a Jaguar to be precise.
Mitch Evans takes the lead of the Rome E-Prix for Jaguar.
Evans stretched his legs to take the win by nearly 6 seconds, having started back in 9th on the grid.
Evans wins again in Rome.
The next day, Jean-Eric Verne led off from pole position.
All 5 lights are on, and we go green in Rome.
After his teammate Antonio da Costa came together with Edo Mortara.
What a f***ing idiot. I was inside.
The Swiss driver's race and championship lead were history.
Okay, I need to stop. It's not safe.
In a frenetic race, it was advantage Porsche with just 12 minutes left on the clock.
France covers the inside, Lotterer goes to the outside, and there he goes.
But behind Lotterer, Mitch Evans was chewing through the field in attack mode.
Mitch Evans on a charge and is leading the Rome E-Prix again.
Verne got back up to 2nd and piled the pressure on the Kiwi, but there was no stopping him from back-to-back victories in Rome.
Yes, you've done it again! Yes!
Those 2 victories saw Evans jump to 4th in the championship standings, but Jean-Eric Verne is the new championship leader, ahead of Frijns and Van Dorn as we get ready to race in Monaco.
Well, I'm here with Mitch Evans, and what a way to kickstart your championship title fight, the double win in Rome. I mean, are you still flying high from that celebration?
Yeah, I am, but also like with Formula E, I find like you got to really reset. You want to carry the momentum, those good sort of vibes, good memories, but you can easily get a wake-up call in the next race. So I'm trying to be composed, use that good energy and that form, and hopefully bring it into this weekend, while trying to reset a little bit as well and make sure we do the homework to make sure we're quick in Monaco as well.
So talk us through, we're coming into this race weekend because obviously last year in Monaco it was a spectacular race. We absolutely loved it, truly entertaining, but the battle between you and Antonio da Costa on the last lap, unfortunately you missed out on the win, but I am sure you are here this weekend to show that you're faster than Antonio.
Well, I'm here to show everyone that I'm faster than them, but yeah, I mean, it was a great race last year. I mean, obviously, I just did it for the show, you know. Just that's all. I drained my battery down to try and make it good for the show. No, I mean it's been a track where I've been on the podium multiple times and also in other categories, but I've never won here, and that hurts. Like that, I feel like the Monaco's a one. Like the podiums don't mean anything apart from that P1. Other races it's different, but I feel like here you have to get that victory. It's one of those halo events. So yeah, I've got my firm sights on victory today, but we've got a long way to go. We've got qualifying obviously, and we've got the race coming up, and the track is feels a little bit slippery compared to last year, so it's made it a little bit trickier for us, but I'm going to give my best.
And how are you feeling about qualifying? Because, you know, we know that in past races here, everyone has won from pole position.
Yeah, exactly. Like track position's always key, right? The new qualifying format hopefully will play in our favor today. Last year we really optimized that one lap shootout that we had in the group stages, but it gives more people opportunities with this new format to put a lap in. So you have to execute 2 good laps to make it into the duels, and that's what we're aiming for today.
What would it mean to win in Monaco?
It mean everything. You know, I live here, but I've also had great success here, and I've also had some disappointments. So this is the race that every driver wants to win. So I want to put my name on that list.
Right, well, all the best, Mitch Evans. Hopefully you can make it 3 wins out of 3. Jack, over to you.
The winner of last year's race, Antonio da Costa, is with me now. That must be quite a special memory, right?
Man, it was, you know, winning Monaco is always something you dream of doing as a young driver coming up, and having the chance to do it here with the full track that we had last year in Formula E was mega. Especially where we're coming from a few difficult races, a little bit similar to this year, and to bounce back and restart our season like that was amazing. So, you know, such a track with so much history, a lot of heritage, so to do it here was amazing.
And so how important is qualifying today? Because I believe, apart from Season 1 Buenos Aires, you've only won Formula E races from pole position.
Have I? Yeah, so, so to go against you, I'll try not to be on pole and win the race.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, just to make
that's the plan.
Yeah, make it a bit more fun. No, but obviously pole position is always great, especially because now it's worth 3 points. So, and those count. Those are important points. And, you know, starting up front is good because it gives you a little bit of a different way and a bit more room to manage the race, even if you have to at some point lose a position here or there, attack modes, all of that. So starting up front is important, pole position even more, so we need to be, if not on pole, nearby.
And you did it last year, so it'll be easy.
Yeah, you know, did it, easy, 200s, 4 cars within 200, so sure, I planned that perfectly.
Okay, best of luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, so last year's winner here in Monaco, Antonio da Costa, 12th in the championship, but his teammate, Jean-Eric Vergne, is at the top of the championship, and only one driver in our top 4 has won a race, and that was last time out in Rome. Mitch Evans, obviously, his back-to-back victories in Rome. So what does that tell us about Formula E, Karun, sorry. What have you got to do to win?
I think, to be honest, the championship hasn't yet settled down. You know, we had the opening round in Saudi where you saw Mercedes and Venturi winning, and you thought, okay, anyone with that powertrain is going to dominate. Then we got to Mexico and Porsche came to the fore, and then obviously, as you mentioned, Jaguar won the last 2 with Mitch. So I think it still hasn't settled down. You've got only 18 points between the top 7 in the championship. So I think this is still unfolding. I think, you know, there's a great degree of unpredictability about it still.
And is Monaco the perfect next race, Dario, for Jaguar and Mitch?
I think it is. He came so close last year, and as he said, he's enjoyed success here. He's also enjoyed some hard times, and last year he missed it by so little, and it was that beautiful pass he made up the hill that ultimately cost him the victory. So he's going to want to rebound from that. He's going to want to win here. He's going to want to keep that momentum going. He came so close to the championship last year. He really is going to. He's all in. He's absolutely all in. And to keep that momentum going, to win at Monaco would be so special for him.
From a driver's perspective, Karun, how do you make this car work its best? How do you make it efficient? How do you get it around this track, especially for qualifying, because we've mentioned now a couple of times that every winner we've had here has won from pole. How do you build the perfect lap around Monaco?
Well, first of all, I think that stat's a little bit misleading because the track has changed. You know, the first few years we ran the short circuit, which frankly wasn't very enjoyable. That's
a little bit misleading. It's the one we've all absolutely battered so far in this qualifying show.
Yeah, but because it's only last year we did the full track, and the lead swapped on the final lap. So I don't think it's as important around here. I think it's actually, Dario was saying it before, it's one of the fastest, if not the fastest track on the FE calendar, and we get some great racing from here. So I think qualifying is, of course, it's important, right? In any form of motor racing. It's a rhythm circuit. I always found this to be a track where you've got to get into a flow. It's not something you can just go out there and hammer it straight away, because it's quite different. You've got the faster sections around the Hotel de Paris and Casino Square, and here behind us at the swimming pool. But then you've got some really slow hairpins in the middle part of the lap, and they're equally important in terms of lap time. So you do have to get into a rhythm around here.
Where are the places where it can bite you, this track, Dario?
Almost everywhere. Almost every single corner of this track can bite you. The barriers are right there. There's a couple of points that have moved the sight lines back a bit, but if you actually look, I think the corner to back, the left-hander just before the swimming pool, that can definitely bite you because you're going from barrier to barrier to barrier. Got to be millimetre perfect. Then there's the second part of the swimming pool complex. They brush the barrier there again, then they jump the curb, and if you jump it a little bit too much, into the barrier you go.
Yeah, we saw that a couple of times in free practice 1 and 2. All right, then, here we go. Karun, who have you got your eyes set on pole position for the race?
I think I'm going to say Da Costa.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he looked good this morning, and he's handy around here, as we saw last year.
All right, Dario?
De Vries looks strong. I think De Vries will be current champion.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see Mercedes in the mix, be it the Venturi or the Mercedes EQ team. All right, let's take a look at the track around here in Monaco.
Formula E's qualifying format will see the fastest drivers going head-to-head in a one-lap shootout to decide pole position. Here's how it works. The 22 drivers are split into 2 groups based on championship position. Drivers have 12 minutes to set a lap time, and the fastest 4 from each group go through to a knockout stage, where drivers will compete against each other head-to-head over one staggered flying lap.
Huge performance this from Nick De Vries.
The fastest drivers will progress through the quarter and semi-final stage, leaving a final pair to battle it out for the Julius Baer Pole Position and 3 championship points.
It's Jean-Eric Verne who takes pole position for DS Techeetah.
The winner and runner-up start the race from first and second place on the grid, with the remaining positions ranked on lap times.
And we go green in Mexico City.
So best performances will be rewarded, except Formula E often writes its own scripts.
That's why you see TBR plastered around the track.
We are ready for qualifying ahead of round 6 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship from Monaco. This is going to be a really entertaining session, and we are going to have the first drivers out of these odd-numbered positions in the championship. So first, third, fifth, seventh, etc. down to the camera. So we will have championship leader Jean-Eric Verne out of qualifying Group A, along with Stoffel Van Dorn, Eduardo Mortara, Pascal Wehrlein, Degrassi out there as well. And this is where we will see what the championship leader can do. And will there be any big shocks? Because it's all about getting into that top 4 and advancing through to the duels. If you can make it through this top 4, you're guaranteed a top 8 spot on the grid and a real opportunity to win the Monaco E-Prix this afternoon. If you don't make it into that top 4, it's tough. Mitch Evans did win from 9th on the grid last time out in Rome. The light goes green at the end of the pit lane, but if you don't make it through, you're in a much more difficult position. Lucas Degrassi waiting to go in the Rocket Venturi, the Brazilian driver who has made it through to the duels this year, Degrassi, but only on one occasion, and that was in Diriyah. He hasn't qualified inside the top 10 since then. Dan Tickter making his way out on circuit. Sebastian Buemi joining the track as well. Nissan showed a little flurry of pace today, mainly with Max Günther, admittedly, but not too bad from Sebastian Buemi either. Tickton making his way up the hill. See what he can do. He's been out-qualified by his teammate Oliver Turvey 3-2 so far this season, but Tickton was ahead in the second qualifying session in Rome. So everybody has to set a lap in the first 6 minutes here, but really it's all going to crescendo in 11 minutes time when they will be on track, coming across the line, and we will see who is going to advance through. It's so important to get into the top 4, and how you build up to that is fascinating, and how you use the tyres is quite fascinating as well, because some drivers just drive around for the whole time, some come in and change their tyres. It's all circuit specific, weather dependent, a lot of strategy involved, but ultimately, Dario Franchitti, it comes down to the stopwatch.
Absolutely, and the stopwatch never lies, Jack. You've got to, and it's going to be so close today on the stopwatch. I think a lot of the teams are saying if the driver takes the car to its maximum potential, it is so close out there. So I think that's one of the hardest things for the driver. One thing to do in practice, but to repeat in qualifying, in group qualifying, and then have to repeat in the duels as well at a different power level. It's a real challenge for them, and again, barriers are waiting right there, exit of the second part of the swimming pool as Dan Tickton goes through. That can be, you slightly overextend trying to gain some lap time, and it's all over.
So Jean-Eric Verne making his way out of the pit lane in the DS Cheetah, just getting some air on his hands?
Yeah, he's just cooling himself down. If you put your hands up like that, it directs the air into the cockpit. It's quite cooling.
Oh, interesting. It's not that warm today so far compared to the last few days. Dan Tickton running at 220 kilowatts of power. Everybody in this session runs at 220 kilowatts as Tickton up to the top of the hill. Looks like he's on a build lap here, I would say, rather than a push lap as he comes into the right-hander. So just building up the temperature in the tyres and the brakes and everything he wants to be ready for his push lap in a moment.
He's trying to get the tyres to work together, to get front and rear to come up to temperature into their operating window at the same time, which is not as easy as it may sound. You said, Jack, that it's not so warm out there. The sun has just broken through finally, and the track temperature will be going up in a hurry, because look, it's pretty new tarmac around most of the track, and that will heat up in a hurry because it's such a dark surface.
Dan Tickton saying he's got split temperatures on his brakes, so that's something he's working on this preparatory lap.
What that will mean is the car will pull to one side, because the brakes, when they get to temperature, that's when they start to work, and if they build unequally left to right, the car will pull in whichever direction builds first, and it's really not much fun.
Dan Tickton then coming through the swimming pool, and the Nissans aren't pushing either. The quickest time we've seen so far today was Antonio da Costa on a 1:30.4. Also worth pointing out, Sam Bird is in this qualifying session as Di Grassi is cruising down to back. I think he pushed in the first sector and then is taking it steady in the second. But yeah, Sam Bird out in this group, and he has a 3-place grid drop for the race after the collision in Rome, which is escaping my mind right now. What happened? Oh, Cassidy. Collision with Cassidy up at turn 9, or turn 4 as it is now. So, yeah, Bird has a 3-place grid drop wherever he qualifies. Here comes Lucas Di Grassi then. We'll see whether he pushes a little more as he comes across the line this time. 7.5 minutes to go. And there's a bit of a lock-up from the aforementioned Cassidy. He looks like he's giving it a bit of push as he comes into back up to the wall on the exit. He's 5.4 seconds up on Di Grassi's time, but we are starting to see the quick sectors come in now. So everybody took it steady on their outlap, some doing an out and a prep, some doing an outlap and a push. And Cassidy's coming into the final corner now.
The trick at this point is to get a lap in the bank just in case there's a red flag, just in case you make a mistake. So you've got one in the bank in those first 6 minutes, but then you just keep pushing the limit those next laps that you do. As Nick Cassidy goes quickest on a 32.0, but you just get, and that's when the risk goes up each time you push just that little bit harder, as we see Jean-Eric Verne coming through the last corner.
Out across the line comes Verne. 32.009 for Cassidy, a 31.923 for Verne. And then Mortara slots into 4th place. Gunter, Ticktum and Buemi, who all went out first, are now doing their push laps.
And again, remember, this is at 220 kilowatts. The lap time this morning set at 250, so quite a bit more power, sort of 13–14% extra power that they had this morning, and then they will have in the duels later on.
Buemi slots into 7th place. Reasonable lap from Sergio Sedicamera, who was doing tremendous things in that Dragon in Rome. De Grassi across the line, 2nd fastest, so Gunter is pushed out. Neither Nissan has made it through to the duels so far this season, so neither Nissan has been in the top 4 of the qualifying groups. See whether that can change today, because Gunter is looking reasonable. De Grassi 2nd quickest, still less than a 10th between Verne, De Grassi and Cassidy at the moment. 5.5 minutes to go. Now, if they want to pit for it, they get 2 sets of tyres basically, so if they want to pit for a new set of tyres, then they're going to have to do it soonish. And I'm interested to see whether they do that or they stay out on these old ones. Van Dorn is coming into the pits. Dan Ticktum, for example, is only going to change the rear tyres on his Neo, because we heard some of the drivers talking earlier. I think it was Evans and Da Costa having a chat about how the rears are overheating. So what you can do is come into the pits, leave your hot front tyres on and put some cooler rear tyres on.
Yeah, the tough point with that is you're then going to change your technique to get the temperature and the pressure built up in just the rear tyres, and if you miss it again, as soon as you miss it, the balance front to rear, your qualifying session's over. Yeah. Because then you get a massive imbalance. Either the back's going to slide too much, or the front will slide too much. Either way, it's so close. You're not going to be. You're not going to get into the top 4, which is really that's what this is about. It's not about being quickest in the session. It's about getting into that top 4, getting into the duels.
It looked like all 4 tyres were getting changed for Nick Cassidy. There is Ticktum being wheeled back into the garage. Jean-Eric Verne back in the pits. De Grassi back in the pits. So everybody is essentially doing the same strategy. Jean-Eric Verne quickest at the moment, but these lap times will all change. And a pole position for Jean-Eric Verne in Monaco as the championship leader would be quite the statement. Sam Bird is under investigation for pit lane overspeeding. So whether that's way in, way out, he's under investigation. I wouldn't have imagined, as we have a little look at race control, Scott Elkins on the 3rd row back there in the middle, I wouldn't imagine that would end up being a sporting penalty in a qualifying situation. It's quite a rare thing to get in qualifying, but I would imagine that would be more of a fine or something.
If it's like overspeed, hopefully it's a fine. And if it is an overspeed, you'll find it's by point something of a kilometre. But the rules is the rule.
What's the biggest speeding in the pits you've ever been done by? Have you ever had it where you forgot to turn it on and you were like 50 miles an hour over or something?
I had it one year in 2007 when I had to not go 2 laps down in an IndyCar race. I had an issue on the first lap. So to not go 2 laps down, the guys just said, just go. It was 60 mile an hour speed limit, and I was doing 140 in pit lane. What? And they gave me a drive-through, but I meant I didn't go 2 laps down, and I ended up finishing 5th in the race. Totally just blatantly using the rules to our advantage. They changed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. You can't be proud of that. That's dangerous.
I kept it in a straight line, Jack.
That's the first time for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, less than 3 minutes to go. Everybody in the pit lane.
And time's ticking on here. I think we're going to see not a lot of preparation laps. I think it'll be out and go.
Out and go is pretty much the only option now, I think.
Carlos Tavares, Chief Executive Officer of Stellantis Group. Big race fan. Big, as in he races himself as well. Uses his own money to go racing.
Lovely.
Oh, here we go. Getting busy.
So, 2 minutes 20 to go. Ticktum heading out. It looked like it was maybe Mortara at the back of the queue. So we'll keep an eye on whether everybody gets over the line in time. But it would be, I think it's Mortara who's towards the back of the field. No, Mortara's just left the pits. Cassidy, so it's Sete Camera. Cassidy and Sete Camera are the last 2 out on track. A minute 55 to go, and this is just out and push. There's no preparation or anything. This is going to be fast and furious to get into the top 4 and into the duels. Everybody all in a queue behind Jean-Eric Verne.
This is the point where you want to be last on circuit because the circuit's in its best condition, got the most rubber down, which means the most grip. But if somebody in front of you goes off, your lap's ruined. So what do you want to do? You've got the Dan Ticktum route of heading out straight away, getting to the front of the queue, or the Porsche view at the back, and a lot of risk with that.
So everybody came into the pits. I believe most of them changed all 4 tyres, and now we are getting ready to go. And it was interesting because Verne was at the front of the queue, then Gunter decided, actually, I want to be at the front of the queue. And then you've got Van Dorn in there, and then Bird in the Jaguar. Bird is right up behind. Less than a minute to go, but we've still got a few corners left. But still, plenty of time. So Gunter's going to be first across the line. Less than a 10th between Verne, de Grasse and Cassidy at the moment. And that order could be relevant if Gunter at the front ends up in the barriers or something like that, which in itself is not a completely unimaginable turn of events.
Not for any of them, Jack. The margins are so fine, and at this point as well, you've got to think. Some of these guys, the tyres might not be in the operating window. We'll soon find out as they start turning into Saint-Devote. Let's watch Jean-Eric Verne. There we go. Lock up straight away.
So Jean-Eric Verne with a lock-up at turn 1. The championship leader maybe costing himself a little bit of time. Van Dorn sent it flying in there as well. Bird coming in too. So those are the 3 that are in a row at the moment. We'll put the running clocks on them. We'll get Verne's first sector in a moment. Max Gunter comes through the first sector, and he is Buemi, sorry, it's Buemi at the front of the queue. My apologies. Verne is 9 thousandths up in sector 1 than he's managed before. There is a yellow flag at turn 1, so some people might come into trouble there. Very good first sector for Sam Bird and de Grasse. And Van Dorn has gone quick in sector 1. It was Nick Cassidy who's gone off, and there's no one behind him. And that's disaster for Nick Cassidy after having such a tough start to the season so far. He's still there in 3rd at the moment, but these lap times are going to drop. Van Dorn is the quickest man in sector 1.
Watch how quickly Nick Cassidy in the Envision car drops. Stoffel Van Dorn did a phenomenal first sector. When he came out of Casino Square, he was grabbing handfuls of opposite lock as he put the power down. Let's see how close he gets to the barrier in Tabac. All the way out to the exit. Car looks nicely under control. Flat through the first part of the swimming pool. Skim the barrier on the right. Jump the curb on the left. Didn't even jump the curb that much. He's coming back to, as we see Jean-Eric Verne leading the way in the black and gold to Cheetah out of the last corner. The run for the line.
So Ticktum goes, takes the checkered flag, and he's 2nd quickest. Jean-Eric Verne improves up at the top, but Verline is going quick. Van Dorn now to the top of the times. Verne gets shuffled down to 2nd. Bird goes up into 3rd place, but then immediately up into 3rd place goes de Grasse. So Bird is on the bubble, Bird is out. Verline into 2nd position. And it looks as though those are going to be the 4 that go through. Van Dorn, Verline, Verne and de Grasse will advance through to the duels. Bird misses out. Gunter, Ticktum, Mortara down in 8th. Cassidy, Sete Camera and Buemi frantic at the end there. But Van Dorn, Verline, Verne and de Grasse get the job done. Good job from Verline, and de Grasse only his 2nd appearance in the duels this season.
Yeah, that was a good lap from him. Sam Bird's going to be a little bit upset there, 100th of a second to miss out on getting through to the duels.
Yeah, Jeff is going quite slow.
And obviously that's an old message from the warm-up lap of qualifying, but Stoffel Van Dorn got the job done.
It might be on the in lap.
It may be because yeah,
you have to do a certain amount of speed back into the pits, don't you?
Yeah, you got to keep a certain speed, keep the tires up and everything, keep it. And you can see in the back of the mirror, you can see the Jaguar behind Jean-Eric Verne. That's a great camera angle. You really see the drivers working. I was very, very surprised this morning to see how much steering movement Jean-Eric Verne had as he braked for the Nouvelle Chicane.
So Stoffel Van Dorn is advancing through to the duels. And good news for he, who is... So, Mortara is sort of the big loser there, because apart from Mortara, it's the top 4 in the championship in that group that made it through, i.e. Jean-Eric Verne in 1st, Van Dorn 3rd, Mortara 5th, Verline 7th, de Grasse 9th. But it is Mortara, who, of those top 4, that misses out. Van Dorn, Verline, Verne, de Grasse, the top 4. And we'll see who will be joining them in a moment. So it is the second duels about to go underway, but first let's go down to Nikki, who's at DS Techeetah.
Thomas, Chevrolet, this is obviously a big weekend for you guys. I mean, you've got two drivers who have won here in the past. Great that Jean-Eric Verne is going through. How's Antonio Felix da Costa? How's Antonio Felix da Costa feeling ahead of it?
Yeah, Antonio did a very good FP2, did best time there. He's quite confident. Obviously, we have the two last winners of Monaco in Formula E, so it's a bit of pressure. It's also a lot of confidence for the team and the drivers, so we are really looking forward. Jeff is through, half of the job is done for this time, so let's see the second group.
Is Jeff feeling confident? I mean, you know, he's the driver at the top of the standings at the moment.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely feeling confident. He has a very good feeling with this year car. He's very confident with his team. I think we have a very good atmosphere in the team at the moment, so yeah, it's a good phase for us.
So what do you think the key is to having a good qualifying lap at Monaco?
The key during the group is to have a nice job and quiet job done to go through, and then to put everything in the duels to make sure that we can go as high as possible. So it's the first thing during the first phase is not to do any mistake, to make sure you are through, and that's what Jeff did today.
Excellent. Well, I know you're very busy, so thanks for joining us, and good luck for the second part.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas.
Well, that's Thomas Chevauché, who's the new team principal at DS Techeetah. He's not new to the team, he's been at the team a while, but Mark Preston, the former team principal, has moved up in the ranks to CEO or chairman? I think it's
chairman.
Chairman, yeah.
Yes.
And Thomas has taken over the role as team principal, but he was already, in effect, doing that job anyway, as we move on to the second group of qualifying. So, in this we have Oliver Turvey, Robin Freintz, Mitch Evans, Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick de Vries, Jake Dennis, Oliver Askew, Alexander Sims, Oliver Rowland, Andre Lotterer, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Those are the drivers that will be battling it out to advance through. And we'll see which four will advance. Jean-Eric Verne giving a little encouragement to Antonio Felix da Costa. He has made it through into the groups, and we'll see who will be joining him. Turvey and Askew have headed out onto the track straight away. Everybody else in the pit lane. Oliver Askew, the car broke down during free practice 2. They changed the whole powertrain and have got him out for qualifying, I think 10 seconds before they had to be ready. So a very, very impressive job from the Andretti mechanics.
Yeah, I think it was a pump in the gear, in the transmission, I think failed or something this morning, and yeah, so unfortunately for Oliver Askew, a rookie here in Formula E, but also in Monaco, and he needed all the track time, but he missed some out in free practice 2, but he seemed to really gel with the track. Watching him this morning in free practice 1, he got into the sort of the flow of the circuit here almost immediately, so not beyond the realms of possibility that Oliver Askew could get the Andretti car into the duels in a little while.
Hasn't made the duels so far this season. His best qualifying performance, 12th in Mexico City, as he comes into the first corner. Same deal as Group A. You've got to set a lap in the first 6 minutes and then a lap in the second 6 minutes. It all comes up towards the end, but you can see Askew pushing straight away to try and learn the track a bit more.
Yeah, and it almost looked like he did a double apex at the top of the hill, which is kind of an unusual move at Massena. He's got a bit of traffic ahead now, one of the Mahindra's ahead, and it's going to hold him up. Oh yeah, it really did. That's Sims really getting in the way. That's not a done thing. I'm sure there'll be a little message in a minute from the FIA. Obviously unsighted, the mirrors are very difficult to see with those wings above the back wheels in the Formula E car. One thing to remember as well, with the way the dual system works, if you're quickest in your group, you go against slowest in the other group. So it definitely helps to push. I was saying, yeah, it's important to be just in the top 4. But if you can push that a little bit extra, then you can make your life a bit easier in that first duel.
Oliver Turvey making his way down to Portier. So after Askew abandoned that lap, nobody's on a push lap at the moment. And Turvey coming through the tunnel and then out into the sunshine. Qualified last in the last qualifying session in Rome, but then came through to finish in 7th place. Here's Mitch Evans, winner of the last 2 races in Rome, and looks like he's pushing as he climbs up the hill towards Massenet. Evans, very strong here last year, qualified towards the front, raced towards the front, didn't take the win. But so interesting that he says anywhere else the top, you know, being on a podium's decent, great, but it doesn't matter if you're 2nd or 3rd in Monaco.
Agreed. It's all about the win. It's all about standing on that podium on the top step, and you know, a lot of guys have dreamed about doing that in different series, whether that's, you know, F1, Formula E, F2, all those things. And we can see De Vries is on a good lap, quickest of anybody so far through the first sector. Mitch Evans, it looked like the Jaguar had a little bit of understeer, the front of the car pushing through the middle of the corners, particularly the Fairmont hairpin.
The 2nd race in Rome is the only one that Nick De Vries has failed to make it through to the duels in, as we're on board with the Mercedes. God, he turned in early there, didn't he?
He had 2 bites, didn't he? The apex, you see it painted orange in the background. It's just Armco, and if you miss it, almost looked like he touched the wall in the apex of the back as well. Let's see what he does in the second part of the swimming pool.
He's finding the limit, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just almost getting his eye back in qualifying. You don't want to be bouncing off the wall too much. Mitch Evans close to the barrier as he comes out of the final corner.
Evans sets a 1 minute 31.887. And De Vries goes 100th slower than that. Dennis goes quicker by half a tenth. Robin Freitz is a 10th and a half up in Sector 1. The only driver, no, he and Lotterer are the 2 drivers that have made it through to the duels in every race so far this season. As Freitz bounces it through the swimming pool. And he's a 1/4 of a second up after the middle sector.
He was in such good form here last year, wasn't he? When he finished 2nd, he battled for the lead the whole day. And it looks like, again, the back of the car, back of the Envision car, sliding around. Lotterer goes to P1.
And then Freitz goes to P1, a 1 minute 31.405. So Freitz, Lotterer, Dennis, Da Costa, the 4 then. And at the moment, the surprise there would be Nick De Vries, I suppose. You could suggest, but it's going to be that top 6 is going to be the top 6, I think, battling it out for the top 4, let's say. And you can see just how close it is, especially Dennis, Da Costa, Evans, and De Vries. Remarkably, remarkably tight.
Yeah, scarily so. Yeah, I mean, look at De Vries. 1 minute, he's quickest, and 1 second he's quickest, and then literally, boom, down he goes to 6th. And that's going to change again somewhere in about 5 minutes' time when they do their final push laps. They'll probably come in the pits, as we saw in the first group, change the tyres, and have another go. And at that point, you push just that bit harder. You think of all the ways you can make the car better, but all the ways as a driver, you can push just that little bit harder, and you leave less and less margin for error on the table.
Robin Freitz at the back of this queue complaining of a flat spot on these tyres, which is quite unusual for these Michelins.
So flat spot means when he's locked up, the tyre, it basically grinds a flat spot into the tyre because the tyre is not rotating anymore. As you say, Jack, very unusual in Formula E. We've seen some hellacious lockups with no apparent flat spots before.
You're proud of that one.
I am.
Some what?
Hellacious.
Hellacious.
Thank you.
Wow. What a delectable word. As Nick De Vries makes his way back into the garage then. Tyres will get changed and they'll go out again. At the moment, Freitz, Lotterer, Dennis and Da Costa, the 4 that would advance. Evans just missing out at the moment and would be starting, well, he wouldn't be starting alongside Sam Bird, his teammate, because Bird has a 3-place grid drop. There is Freitz, quickest in the Envision. It's going to be so frustrating for his teammate Nick Cassidy, considering the pace that Cassidy had in the first run. We didn't actually see whether it was a mistake or not.
It looked like a mechanical to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked like something had broken and he'd gone straight on down the escape road, unfortunately.
Right, everybody back in the pit lane, so let's check in with Nikki Shields. Where are you?
Well, joining me now is Sam Bird for Jaguar Racing. Sam, unbelievably close. That's got to hurt, 0.01 seconds off getting through to the duels.
It's tough, but Formula E is tough. So, the first lap was probably too conservative, went for it a bit more in the second lap. There were a couple of wall touches that cost me a bit of time. So that's disappointing, but it could have been a lot worse. The unfortunate thing for me is the 3-place grid drop for this race. So instead of starting 9-10, I think it'll be 12 or 13. But it is what it is. Keep pushing, and we've got a good race car. See what we can do.
And I think you got caught in a bit of traffic perhaps in Rome, which also sort of scuppered your qualifying a bit. What is it that I suppose with this new format is maybe taking a little bit longer to sort of get the right strategy in place for?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, we got through to the duels in Diria. We got through to the duels in Rome. We nearly got through to the duels here, very close, but it doesn't always go your way in this formula. There's 22 world-class drivers, and on your day, half a tenth is all you need.
All right, thanks very much.
Well, his teammate Mitch Evans is currently in 5th place as well, the same position that Bird occupied in the first qualifying group as Nick de Vries gets ready to go out. Now we saw with about 2.5 minutes everybody leave the pit lane, and we're seeing it again. Oliver Turvey making his way out. Da Costa trying to find a little gap in the traffic to slot in, which he does in between Giovinazzi and Freitz. And everybody now joins the track. So again, it's going to be an out lap and then a flying lap. Simple as that.
Just thinking about the Jaguars for a second, you would say just even looking at Rome, they had unbelievable race pace with Mitch Evans, but the qualifying pace was okay, but not pole position stuff.
€400 fine for Sam Bird for speeding in the pit lane, so that's not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. Askew at the front of this queue, with the Mercedes in behind, with this sort of mini queue, and then Jake Dennis at the back of this queue here. I got my eye on Jake Dennis for a little bit of something, potentially. He's had 2 front row starts so far this season, and even though in the championship he's down in 10th place with after picking up no points in Rome, in qualifying he's been very strong, started 6th and 2nd in the 2 races in Rome. So he's one to keep an eye out for, that could push one of the sort of big 4, if you will, or the top 4 in the standings out.
And he looked very comfortable today. When he first went out this morning, he looked like he was, you can just tell when somebody's a bit nervous with the track and the proximity of the barriers and all that. Jake Dennis was just flat out on it this morning, and then Andretti Carr with him and his teammate Oliver Askew, they looked like they were handling really, really well. So let's see what they got.
Greece coming around the final few corners. Antonio Felix da Costa up into Anthony Nogues. Pole and the win here last year. He needs something to get his championship challenge back on track, da Costa. He's down in 12th place in the standings coming into this race, and he gets onto the brakes into Sandevot, neat, tidy, up the hill.
That was textbook through Sandevot for Antonio Felix da Costa. Got a good run up the hill through Beau Rivage. Now coming up to Masseny, let's see if he double apexes. Look, the back end of the car just stepping out. No, he holds one long apex. Yep, back in again, keeps the car over to the left, opens up Casino Square, and watches he avoids the bumps down the hill into the highly cambered Mirabeau. You hear the car hitting the ground as he uses some of the curb. You see how it rotates through the Fairmont hairpin. Not too bad, not brilliant, but it seemed okay.
The lap times are not particularly exciting. Da Costa is a 10th away in Sector 1. Freitz is 2/10 away from his best in Sector 1. Mitch Evans has gone 3 thousandths up. Lotterer or Dennis, I think, might have gone off at Sandevot. It's Dennis. Jake Dennis has gone off at Sandevot. He was the last driver in the queue, so it's not going to affect anyone else. But Jake Dennis there in 3rd place. The good news for him is no one is dramatically improving. Evans is the only driver to be up on Freitz's lap time in the first sector. Through the middle sector now comes Da Costa. He's close. He's only 100th away from Freitz, and Freitz has done a very good middle sector. This is going to be really, really tight to see who's going to get through into the top 4. Da Costa in 4th place at the moment. Through the final corner at Anthony Nogues. Little bit of a slide. Comes out across the line. Turvey across the line in 10th. Sims across the line in 8th. Da Costa goes 2nd, a 10th away from Robin Freitz. Is that going to be enough to see him through? Freitz doesn't improve, and Lotterer, Evans and de Vries are all improving. Here comes Askew. Askew goes up into third place. Very strong effort from the American. De Vries goes to the top now. A 1 minute 31.2. Evans beats that. Da Costa is right on the bubble, and Da Costa's out. Roland into fourth. Roland is now out because Lotterer is up into third, and so it's Evans, De Vries, Lotterer and Freitz that will advance through to the duels. Roland is eliminated. Da Costa, his difficult season remains difficult. 7th for Askew, 8th for Dennis after seemingly an error at Sandevot. Sims, Giovinazzi and Turvey, the rest of the runners. So, Freitz in 2nd in the championship, Evans 4th in the championship, Lotterer 6th in the championship, and De Vries 8th in the championship, all go through. So the 4 that go through here were the top 4 in the championship.
And Lotterer, Da Costa, sorry, 1100s from making it one more place up to Oliver Roland, and Roland less than a 10th from making it with Robin Freitz. So close, the margins are tiny. And now we're going to go into the duels. We're going to turn it up to 250 kilowatts power, and they're going to have to do it all again with a car that's going to handle completely differently. They're going to approach the corners so much quicker. Yeah, quite a difficult day for the drivers. We're not making it easy for them.
No, absolutely. Robin Freitz got away with that one because he was the only driver, other than Dennis, not to improve on his second flying lap. Lost 2 tenths in the first sector. Middle sector was strong, final sector was strong, but lost a lot of time in sector 1. But as I say, it's to be clear, it's not the top 4 in the championship that are through to the duels, but in this group, the 4 highest placed drivers in the championship are through to the duels. So Evans, De Vries, Lotterer and Freitz. Lotterer and Freitz continue their form of making it into the duels in every race so far this season as well. So good consistency there. And then we will start the quarterfinals fairly shortly. Good work from Evans. On a roll.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we talked about maybe the Jag unit having the qualifying pace. Well, Mitch proved that wrong. When you've just got that confidence, everything flows. You're not second guessing yourself at any point during the lap. And yeah, really wonderful stuff. Antonio Felix da Costa, he's maybe at the other side just now. It's not a disastrous season. It's just not what he would expect, especially with his teammate Jean-Eric Vergne leading the championship.
Well, Antonio Giovinazzi 10th, so he'll be on the penultimate row of the grid once again. Alexander Sims 9th fastest, and he ended up 4 tenths away from his teammate Oliver Roland. Difficult day for Sims, ended up missing some running earlier on after some kind of collision with Sebastian Buemi out on track. Group B done. Evans, De Vries, Lotterer, Freitz advance to the duels. Roland, Da Costa, Askew, Dennis, Sims and Giovinazzi, the top 10 with Turvey in 11th. So there may have been a mistake out there for Oliver Turvey. Lost a lot of time in the middle sector. Well, we are now going to advance to the quarterfinals. Let's head down to the pit lane and join Vernon.
Karun, I think you'll agree the body language of Antonio Felix da Costa says it all, not in the duels.
Yeah, he came in, just jumped out of the car, walked off straight away, didn't even speak to any of the engineers. Very disappointing. I mean, shows how wrong I was with my prediction of him being on pole.
But on the flip side of the garage.
Yeah, Jev in there, got the job done in the first part of quali. But it's super tight. And, you know, the top 4, really, really close. Antonio just didn't get it together, you know, over a quarter of a second down. I think he didn't quite put it together in sector 1. The middle sector was okay, but he seemed to be down sectors 1 and 3. So yeah, he'd be disappointed. But just if we go next door.
Let's walk along, because we've got, we talked about Antonio Felix da Costa, not in the duels, Jev's in the duels. But this team are riding high. Let's just have a quick word. Mitch, congratulations in the duels. You stand in the middle, my friend. How was it out there?
It's tough. You know, today it seems like there's less grip compared to when we came here last year. So and the margin's so small. I pushed a lot on that last lap because I was a little bit off in that first run of tires. So I'm a little bit surprised actually, but I just laid it all out there and fortunately made it through.
So going ahead into the duel run with the extra power, you know, what's your thinking in terms of, do you have changed much on the car? Do you have, you know, you've learned a bit, I guess, in this session, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can change. There's some sort of software stuff to help with braking or something. But mechanically, we've got to keep it the same. We hope we're in good shape for 250. We were second in practice on 250. So, but yeah, the car turns a lot different when it goes to the higher powers. So also with the temp coming up, I'll do what I can do and see what we got.
I'll let you go see to the engineers.
Yeah, well done, Mitch. Riding high, the boys at Jag. Let's take a look at the duels, shall we? What's going to happen? So there you go. This is what we're going to see. We've got Freins versus Van Dorn, Lotterer versus Verline, Verne versus De Vries, De Grassi versus Evans. Some major battles there, my friend. Look at the Porsches going against each other.
I was going to say the Porsches are up against each other, so that's going to be fascinating to watch. But listen, when you look at the championship standings, most of the heavy hitters are in, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think De Vries would be pretty.
Well, you mentioned it earlier on. Is this race going to be the leveler? Is this the one where we find some kind of order in our championship?
It'll start to settle down, isn't it? You know, it's just natural as the season unfolds. They learn more and more, and you get a bit of a convergence. And maybe this is it. Maybe this is the way. It's a track that they all know quite well as well.
All right, brilliant. As we know, the duels are really, really exciting. So we cannot wait for the duels.
The cars lining up at the end of the pit lane for the first quarter-final. Robin Freins for Envision Racing against Stoffel Van Dorn for Mercedes EQ. There they are, lined up at the end of the pit lane. Of the 8 drivers in the duels, it's only Eduardo Mortara who missed out from the top. It's the top 9 championship positions of the drivers in the duels, bar Mortara in 5th, who didn't make it through. So the consistency and the story of the season really is starting to play out now. The way the duels work is Freins goes out first, 30 seconds later Van Dorn follows him out, and they do their lap basically at the same time on track. Whoever has the quickest lap gets through to the semi-final. Whoever goes quickest in the semi-final goes through to the final. Win the final, you're on pole position. Easy peasy.
Yeah, dead easy. You've only got to do 3 runs at 250 kilowatts and push it harder, progressively harder as each lap goes on.
Van Dorn down into Casino Square.
See him just putting lots of lock in there, just trying to get temperature into the tyres. Robin Freins further around the lap, using a slightly different technique to warm those tyres up.
Freins coming out of the tunnel. No pole positions this season for Robin Freins. He's only had 1 in his Formula E career, which came last season in Diriyah. He has been second on the grid for the first race in Rome. Sylvain Philippe, and there's Ian James for Mercedes EQ.
That's the helpless feeling now for these guys, because they've done all the work, they've put all the pieces, the jigsaw puzzle pieces into position, and now it's up to the driver. Have the engineers put the right setup on the car? Will the driver be able to do the job and shave those thousandths of a second off that can make the difference between starting on pole and starting on 8th?
Stoffel Van Dorn has been in the duels on 4 occasions, made it through to the semi-finals twice. He's never been eliminated in the semi-finals. If he gets through to the semi-finals, he's then in the final. Here he comes now. Around Raskas. Through Anthony Noakes. And here he comes, up to full power. And the first quarter-final begins. Van Dorn down towards the first corner at Sandervot. Gets on the bower, starts to climb up the hill. We've gone for the split screen, so Robin Freins' video is delayed, and it's Van Dorn on the right, Freins on the left, and Freins has an advantage of about 7/100ths of a second as they come up to the top of the hill towards Massenet, and Van Dorn pushing through there.
Yeah, Van Dorn just lost the rear of the first part of Massenet. That is not going to help him, but he is catching Robin Freins. But no, Freins has pulled ahead now by 1/10.5. That's going to be a big disadvantage for Stoffel Van Dorn to make up.
And that'll be that little wobble that he had up at the top of the hill. Now attacking the curbs, coming down towards Portier.
And the car slid across the tarmac going into Portier, Stoffel Van Dorn, but he's catching, as he comes through the tunnel, he's catching Robin Freins.
Out into the sunshine again. These side-by-sides are in real time, but they're not exactly accurate. But the timing is is, oh, Van Dorn's got ahead, a quarter of a second.
Where did that come from?
So quick through the Nouvelle chicane, and Freins might be eliminated here. Into the swimming pool section, you can see that Van Dorn is getting further ahead. Neat and tidy through there, and now he's just got to be clean through the Raskas.
Easier said than done, Jack. But a mighty middle sector from Stoffel Van Dorn and the Mercedes EQ.
Freins closing the gap a little bit again. It's really ebbed and flowed over the course of this lap, but it is surely going to be Stoffel Van Dorn that advances. It is a 1 minute 30.293 for Stoffel Van Dorn, and he is through then to the semi-finals. Robin Freins eliminated. He did a 30.451. That lap time will calculate what position he starts in with the other eliminated quarter-finalists, but strong stuff that from Stoffel Van Dorn. That middle sector was huge, so very good stuff from Stoffel Van Dorn. Next quarter-final, it's the battle of the Tag Heuer Porsches. Andre Lotterer versus Pascal Wehrlein. This is a fascinating intra-team fight. Lotterer in the duels again. In every race this season, he has been in the duels. Wehrlein has been in the duels the last 3 races. Lotterer has out-qualified Wehrlein 3-2 over the course of the season and has a better qualifying average, but Wehrlein has a pole position to his name in Mexico City.
Which was critical for the win when the team orders thing started to happen. So that one lap in Mexico when Lotterer didn't quite tie it together probably cost him the win, because in race conditions, I think Andre Lotterer was faster than Pascal Wehrlein.
So Lotterer across the line first, down towards Sandoval.
It was incredible the way that last duel ebbed and flowed more than I think anyone I've seen without a mistake in in the rounds we've had so far in Season 8 in Formula E.
So keep an eye on the tower on the left-hand side. Wehrlein slightly quicker through Sandoval. Can he carry that momentum up the hill? This is Lotterer sliding through Casino Square, as he seems to always do. And now down into Mirabeau. And look at that, Lotterer 2 tenths ahead of Wehrlein. So not a good first sector for Wehrlein.
Yeah, and you saw Lotterer again catching that oversteer as he exited Casino Square. It's the technique he's got, but Wehrlein catching. He's taken a 10th away already on Andre Lotterer. Lotterer not great as he comes through the tunnel.
Lotterer now about to emerge down towards the chicane. Into the sunshine, onto the brakes. Wehrlein is still catching Lotterer. This is Lotterer we're watching. Over the curbs, down towards Tabac.
And Lotterer will not be aware of what's going on here. He's just pushing the Porsche to the absolute maximum.
Now we're with Wehrlein through the chicane. In driver's eye, and Wehrlein's now got ahead by 0.03 of a second. So that 2 tenths he lost is slowly being clawed back by the German.
Wehrlein goes ahead, half a tenth up.
Here comes Lotterer into the final corner now at Anthony Nogues. What's the lap time going to be for Lotterer? It is a 1 minute 30.366. Wehrlein looks as though he's going quicker. He was 2 tenths quicker than Lotterer in the middle sector. And it is Wehrlein by over 2 tenths of a second, over a quarter of a second, in fact. Wehrlein advances through to the semi-finals to face Stoffel Van Dorn.
That's a big lap on Pascal Wehrlein. That's it's 2 tenths quicker than Stoffel Van Dorn in the first of the duels. Got to be happy with that.
So I believe Wehrlein hit the wall at Sandoval. So that's what cost him so much time in in that first sector, was he hit the wall at Sandoval.
That's ominous for the rest of them.
Quarter-final 3. Jean-Eric Verne for DS Techeetah up against Nick de Vries for Mercedes EQ. And this is going to be another interesting one. It's championship leader versus 8th place man in the championship. Can Verne get into the semi-finals and book himself a place on the front 2 rows of the grid for the Monaco E-Prix? He is ahead on circuit as he comes through the swimming pool. There's Nick de Vries coming through to back.
See the Porsche behind that. He's on his in lap. He's coming into the pits.
De Vries looking for his second pole position of the season. Jean-Eric Verne is looking for his second pole position of the season. Across the line. Here comes the Mercedes driver, the reigning champion, down into Sandoval. We've gone split screen. And they are pretty much identical through Sandoval now and on the climb up the hill. Up into Massenet. Both pretty neat and tidy. There's now only 300ths between the pair of them. Oh, bit of a slide for De Vries on the exit of Casino.
The back end of the Mercedes EQ a little wayward, but the front of the car is turning very well through those quicker corners.
But Verne has pulled the gap to over 1/10 of a second.
Verne's got momentum.
Oh, another moment for De Vries. That was quite a big one. He had to save it from hitting the barriers. That could cost him a lot, and it has.
Yeah, 4/10 Jack. He just couldn't get back to the throttle when he should have been. He was trying to save the car from hitting the barriers.
Jean-Eric Verne with a big advantage as they come down to the Nouvelle chicane.
The problem now for De Vries, he knows he's made mistakes, so he's got to push even harder through these next parts as he is to try and close the gap.
3/10 between them. De Vries coming back at Verne. Gap goes up again to 3.5/10. Into the swimming pool. Out of the swimming pool, I should say. Neat and tidy for Verne. He hit the wall there in practice earlier on. No such troubles today. Out towards Anthony Nogues. The final corner. The gap's almost 7/10 of a second. Great lap here. Incoming from Jean-Eric Verne. It's a 1:30.4. And De Vries is eliminated. Jean-Eric Verne is through to the semi-finals for DS Techeetah.
Not massively quick, really. I mean,
No,
it's
I agree.
4/10 slower than Pascal Wehrlein, but quick enough to get through. But that means things are going to, your business is going to pick up in the next round.
Comfortably the slowest lap of the session by Nick De Vries, and that will mean that he's most likely down towards 7th or 8th. Quarterfinal 4. The final spot in the semi-finals will be either Lucas Di Grassi for Rocket Venturi Racing or Mitch Evans for Jaguar TCS Racing. The double race winner in Rome, who's charging back through the order, or the Season 3 champion, Lucas Di Grassi, who has only been through to the duels on one occasion so far this season. That was the second race in Diriyah. Since then, his best qualifying was 12th. So this is already a step forward for Di Grassi.
And this is obviously the home race for the Rocket Venturi team, so he's going to want to do, as you do every race, but there's a little bit of extra pressure at your home race.
It's been 57 races since Di Grassi took pole position in Montreal at the end of Season 3. Remarkable, isn't it?
It's quite remarkable.
Full power now. Di Grassi across the line and down into turn 1 at Sandoval. Takes a lot of curb on the way in.
Yeah, probably slightly more apex curb in the middle of the corner than the others used. You can hear the car hitting the ground.
Yeah, the car sliding. And Evans has 1/10 of a second on him after Sandoval. Down into Mirabeau. Here is Evans now up at Massenet. He looks a bit more neat and tidy, and as a result, the gap grows a little more.
He almost got a bit of oversteer, the back of the car sliding as he exited Casino Square, because again, through the middle of the corner, the Jaguar sliding the front end. Di Grassi has closed the gap though to within 1/10 of a second, 800ths.
Evans dropping away a little bit. Di Grassi now emerging. Just gets it stopped. Evans is almost 2/10 up now after those middle couple of corners. Into Tabac. Into the swimming pool. Really leaning on the car. Di Grassi. Evans' gap grows a little more.
What a great shot through the swimming pool.
Over 2/10 of a second now is Evans' advantage. Di Grassi right up towards the wall on the exit of Anthony Nogues. And Di Grassi across the line. It's a 30.338. But Evans looks to be going quicker. A quarter of a second left. A quarter of a second between them. One corner left. Evans out across the line. And he's through. A 1 minute 30.053 for Mitch Evans, and he will face Jean-Eric Verne in the semi-final.
That's the quickest lap of the duels so far. When you're on a roll, you're on a roll.
Yeah, by 0.04 of a second.
Massive advantage.
So de Grassi does a 30.338, which was a good lap actually for him. So I think it'll be Van Dorn 5th on the grid. It will be de Grassi 6th on the grid. It'll be Lotterer 7th on the grid, and it'll be De Vries 8th on the grid. So Van Dorn 5th, de Grassi 6th, Lotterer 7th, De Vries 8th will be how they line up for the race later on this afternoon. But now we know that Van Dorn, Verline, Verne, Evans will be the drivers advancing to the semi-finals. Evans hadn't been in the qualifying groups at all until the second day in Rome. And, sorry, in the qualifying duels at all until the second day in Rome, and now he's made it through 2 races in a row. So Van Dorn beat Freitz, Verline beat Lotterer. They will face each other in the semi-final. Verne beat De Vries, Evans beat de Grassi, and they will face each other in the other semi-final. 4 teams, 4 different powertrains, vying it out for a place in the final and the battle for pole.
I'd love to give you some kind of form book. I haven't got a clue. It's, I mean, way too close to call.
4 minutes to go until the next semi-final gets underway. So let's head down to Nikki Shields.
So, first time you're going up against your teammate in the duels, does that make a difference at all, or are you just focused on doing your lap?
No, no difference. Just focus on doing the lap. Yeah, being in the second group and starting the duels very soon, the tires were still hot from the group quali, and that's a bit of a disadvantage in terms of grip. So it was a bit on the back foot with that, and but it was not too bad. Lap was quite good. Had a bit of a slide in the last sector. But yeah, again in the duels, so let's see where I start.
Yeah, because up until now, I think you've been one of the best qualifiers, joint with Nick De Vries, but unfortunately that stat's now gone away.
Yeah, I think it's Robin Franz and me that have been in all the duels so far, so let's keep it going.
Yeah, excellent. Good luck for the race. Thanks very much. Andre Lotterer.
They were both right. Lotterer and De Vries tied for best qualifying average, but Lotterer and Freitz are the two that have been in every single duel so far this season. So waiting now for the semi-finals. Van Dorn up against Pascal Verline, which is going to be very interesting to see. And sorry, it won't be Van Dorn. I kept saying it was Van Dorn 5th on the grid, didn't I? Which is absolutely wrong, because he obviously made it through. One driver who didn't make it through is Robin Freitz. Nikki?
Well, Robin Freitz, you've been super consistent in qualifying, always making it through to the duels, but just narrowly missing out getting into the semis.
Yeah, it was a messy qualifying from my side. I did 2 mistakes. Second lap in the group phase, I basically missed turn 1. Could be very costly, but at the end I finished still 4th. And the duels, yeah, I was waiting very long at the weight bridge. I was the last one on when I was the first one out, so I wasn't so happy with that. But anyway, I mean, I could do the maximum with this because I had hot tires compared to soft with cold. So I'm quite happy with my lap, but that's, you know, the mistake I did in the second lap in the group phase.
So realistically, what do you think is a realistic finish today?
Well, I think I start 7th now, if I'm not mistaken. Again, everything is possible. If you see that Mitch started, you know, P9, I won the race. All eyes on winning the race, obviously, but we need to stay out of trouble first.
Right, thanks very much. Good luck, Robin.
It was actually the first time ever that a Formula E race had been won from 9th on the grid. Oh, there you go. When Evans won from 9th. And there he is. He'll be out in the second semi-final. Sitting in the car, getting ready to go. Stoffel Van Dorn waiting to face Pascal Verline in the first semi-final and the chance to get through to the final. So let's have a look at their statistics, Van Dorn and Verline. 2 poles this year for Van Dorn, 1 for Pascal Verline. And this is Van Doorn's second semi-final appearance. Verlijn's only made one semi-final appearance. And it's going to be Van Doorn at the front of this queue when they make their way out on track to try and make it through into the final and guarantee themselves a spot on the front row. Here's where we're at. Van Doorn and Verlijn beating Freins and Lotterer, respectively. Vern and Evans beating De Vries and De Grassi, respectively. And they are now through to the semi-finals. It's just so tight, Dario.
No doubt about it, Jack. And the guys do have a bit of a safety net now. You know, the worst these guys can start is on the second row, but they want pole position. They want those 3 points too.
Stoffel Van Doorn for Mercedes EQ versus Pascal Verlijn for Tag Heuer Porsche. Those 3 points could be crucial come the end of the season. In fact, if Stoffel Van Doorn were to take pole position, those 3 points would move him within 1 point of championship leader Jean-Eric Verne.
And the more times you've been in the duels, the further you've got, the more you start to understand the rhythm of it, how the tyres wear, how the tyres, when they're hotter in the later duels, how that all affects you. It gives the team more information, it gives the driver more information, how to warm them up, how to get the most out of the car in any of these given situations. Look at the marbles already, though, on the outside of Massenet. You wouldn't want to go off the line up there in qualifying, and certainly not in the race this afternoon.
No, absolutely not. Van Doorn down the hill into the left-hander at Mirabeau. Mark Webber, the Porsche ambassador, I suppose, is technically his title, something like that?
I believe he's ambassador, yeah. Just got back from Australia, Tasmania.
And he is watching in the garage as Verlijn comes around to the bottom of the hill at Portier. And there comes Van Doorn. So Verne and Evans have... No, Verne has had a pole position, hasn't he? So yeah, I was going to say, so amazingly, 3 of the 4 drivers in this final group have had a pole already this year. We've only had 4 pole sitters, but 3 of them are here in the final, and the semi-finals.
This new qualifying format, the cream is definitely rising to the top consistently, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
And I think the drivers love it. We certainly love it to commentate on and to watch as well.
Right, here comes Stoffel Van Doorn down into turn 1, semi-final underway.
Used a bit less curb than we've seen maybe at the middle point of Sandebot. Got to the throttle well.
Pascal Verlijn now coming through Sandebot, and he is a little quicker by 300ths of a second. Not looking lovely through Massenet for Stoffel Van Doorn.
But I think less oversteer. The back slid a bit less than we saw in the lap previous with Stoffel Van Doorn. So maybe they changed some stuff in the differential, but really through, you have to say, through Massenet, sorry, Mirabeau, not good at all for Stoffel Van Doorn.
Verlijn has the advantage at the moment, but only by 700ths of a second. Verlijn took 2,000ths out of him in that last mini split. We're on board with Verlijn as we come down to Portier, where he ended his last Formula 1 Grand Prix here, up against the barriers. And Verlijn is now almost 2/10 up on Stoffel Van Doorn. Here is Van Doorn down at the chicane.
Yeah, good direction change through the Nouvelle chicane as he comes down now towards the back, threading the needle through to back, snap of oversteer. You see his hands going back to the right. Oh, big oversteer through the second part of the swimming pool. The first part, you'd say that the rear tyres have overheated in that Mercedes EQ.
Van Doorn is catching, though. He's chipped it away to less than 1/10 of a second. Verlijn's advantage. Van Doorn versus Verlijn for a place in the final and the front row of the grid for the Monaco E-Prix. Van Doorn sets his lap time at 1 minute 30.243. And Verlijn is ahead by almost 2/10 of a second. Here he comes towards the line. Can he convert it? Verlijn is through. Pascal Verlijn into the final.
Another lovely lap from Pascal Verlijn. You could just see that let's hear what he says.
Yes!
Good job, man. Good job.
Good job, says Kyle Wilson-Clark on the radio. He's happy with that one, Pascal.
Yeah, that was a big lap. Big lap from him. You could see that, again, the Mercedes, the tyres were overheating, the car sliding about. Well, we did see from Pascal Verlijn in the Porsche it looked a lot more under control, shall we say. It looked like they had a bit more grip in the tyres.
Second semi-final, Jean-Eric Verne versus Mitch Evans. DS Techeetah versus Jaguar TCS Racing.
We've got the man on the roll, and we've got the guy who's just been a qualifying machine in Formula E, Jean-Eric Verne, since his very first race when he qualified pole way back in season 1.
Yeah, he has the most pole positions in Formula E history, Jean-Eric Verne there in the black and gold DS Techeetah, level with Sebastian Buemi on 14. This would take him clear and allow him to fully break Buemi's record, but Mitch Evans is in there as well. The Jaguar driver has 2 pole positions in his Formula E career, but he is also 4th in the championship, and 3 points here would help him a lot. Verne into Sandervot.
Yeah, and Evans is on such a roll, like we've said. He's got the momentum going with him and the Jaguar team. Verne doesn't care about that, though. All he's caring about is positioning the car as well as possible at the top of the hill at Massenet.
Evans has not made it through to a final yet. Oh, but he's quick through Sandervot. Over a 10th up on Jean-Eric Verne, Mitch Evans. Verne down into Mirabeau. Evans up into Massenet.
Oh, he makes it look easy through Massenet.
But Verne has actually got the advantage now by 7/1000ths of a second. Evans now has the advantage by 800ths of a second.
Heading through the Fairmont hairpin, trying to get the front of the car to turn. It takes an age to just complete that 180 degrees. Now try and get the perfect braking spot into the Nouvelle chicane.
Evans brings a little bit more of an advantage. It's over a 10th of a second. Down towards Tabac comes Jean-Eric Verne. Neat and tidy, now the swimming pool. So quick and smooth through there. Evans has the advantage, but Verne is catching a little.
And Verne has really flowed well through this last sector of the lap. Let's watch Mitch Evans through the swimming pool. Just that little flick back to the right.
Verne out towards the line. Evans has the advantage at the moment. Neat and tidy from Verne through the final few corners. Checker flag falls. He sets a 30.118. But Evans still has the advantage, just by a 10th of a second. Slides through the final corner. Surely it's going to be the Jaguar driver who advances into the final. Front row for Evans. A 1:30.001. And that is the quickest lap time of qualifying.
Again, pace.
That's mighty from Mitch Evans and the Jaguar team. They're just getting everything right at the moment.
That lap from Verne was quick, a 1:30.1.
Really was.
But not enough. And it'll be Verline versus Evans in the final. 3rd on the grid will be Jean-Eric Verne. 4th on the grid will be Stoffel van Dorn. Fascinating.
Yeah, and again, Verline's tyres will have a bit more time to cool down than Mitch Evans. And Mitch Evans, when he turns into Sandervot this next lap, in the duels final, it's a bit of an adventure. How much grip do you actually have starting that lap? Once you've assessed what you've got in the first corner, you can figure out the rest of the lap. But these guys there's certainly a journey into the unknown at that first corner. It's cracking stuff.
So after beating Lotterer van Dorn, Verline makes it through to the final. Evans, after beating De Grassi and Verne, makes it through to the final. Porsche versus Jaguar for pole position at the Monaco E-Prix. Fascinating prospect, and it's going to be really tremendous to watch this unfold. So there you can see Pascal Verline really leaning on the car, and he is through to the final. Let's go down to Verne.
Yeah, we're with Mark Webber, Porsche ambassador. Very nice role, Mark. One of your boys in the final of the duels, Pascal Verline. Awesome performance.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's been a tight quali, hasn't it? I love the new format as well. It's awesome, isn't it, the duels? So obviously the 2 Porsche boys had to go against each other. Was, of course, one's definitely going to go up, obviously, but obviously for Andre didn't quite get through. But yeah, now between obviously Pascal and Mitch for the big one.
Well, I'm kind of amused by that because you're in your post shirt, but you know Mitch is your protege that you've looked after about a decade, so that's a bit tricky for you, isn't it?
He's gone red as well.
Got to win, mate. Whatever happens in this quality session is going to be a great result. So yeah, no, it's great to be in Monaco too, mate. I think having the cars on the proper circuit here is great. So yeah, it's good to see the guy for the drivers, all engineers, getting on, you know, mixing it up on a big circuit like this is great.
But listen, you're a two-time winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. Have you been able to share anything with these guys, you know, in terms of just little bits and pieces? You've been on pole here as well. Any bits and pieces that you could feed back to them?
In a previous life, yeah, I think, mate, early days when they're getting up to speed, absolutely. But I think now the category is so specific, mate, on what the demands are required to be competitive. So, mate, I'm like you guys, professional groupie. I just come here, got a pass, I'm good. So I just watch.
And he's got an ambassadorial role that is going to keep the central heating on in his house for quite a while, which is what we want, isn't it? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mark. Cheers.
It's so good to hear from Mark Webber there. Just as he says, he's going to win either way. His protege, Mitch Evans, Porsche ambassador at the same time. So he's Mark Webber's definitely winning today.
Well, sort of. He's also definitely losing, isn't he, in this final?
Yeah, I prefer to look at it from the positive point of view.
You're a positive man.
Yeah, but Mark made a good point there. He said, you know, the guy's asking, can you help out Porsche or Mitch? He said, all these categories are so specific that the knowledge from one to the other doesn't really transfer. The mental aspect does, but the actual driving and the intricacies of setting the car up are, that one does not work for the other.
Mitch Evans at the wheel. Pascal Wehrlein at the wheel. As we get ready for the final and to see who will get pole position for the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship race in Monaco, which gets underway in just a little over 3 hours' time. Wehrlein getting ready to head out. He has had a pole position already this season and then won from that pole in Mexico City. Whereas for Mitch Evans, no pole position yet this season. And he is in, well, fourth in the second one in Rome. Is his best qualifying of the season so far. Only time he's made it through the duel, so he's guaranteed best qualifying performance.
He won't be thinking about that right now. It's nice to have the safety net of starting on the front row, whatever happens, but he wants those 3 points. He wants to start on pole position today, and he wants to make amends for getting beaten here last year. So he's going to be just trying to do that perfect lap. And again, he's sitting in the car right now, as is Pascal Wehrlein. Where did I leave anything on the table that last lap? Where can I push a little bit harder? Where did I push too hard? What can I do differently?
Kian on #Monaco E-Prix says, expecting Mark Webber to show up at the next E-Prix with a half and half Porsche and Jaguar shirt. Like a half and half scarf.
He didn't turn round there, did he? He's probably got the Jaguar stuff from Mitch Evans fan club on the back of his Porsche shirt.
There's the tension building inside the Jaguar garage. Vern making his way back, not going to be breaking the record today of pole positions. They're both right on the barrier of 90 seconds as well. As TC points out, 1 minute 30.0s is what we're getting. Will either of them take pole in dipping under a 1 minute 30? The tyres are a little bit older, maybe a little bit warmer, so maybe the lap times won't be as quick, but it doesn't matter the actual lap time in the end. It just depends who sets the quicker one.
Just be quicker than the other guy. That was an interesting thing when the guys started talking about doing the duels. They were saying, oh yeah, it actually was entering my head that there was somebody else on the track, which I thought was odd because a lot of group qualifying, there's lots of people on the track, but they were saying they could really psychologically, it was sort of playing in their minds. I think after they've done it a few times now, they'll be able to get their head into gear and just get on with it.
It's the final. Wehrlein versus Evans for pole position for the Monaco E-Prix for 3 points as well, which for Evans would take him up to 54 points. He'd only be 6 points off Jean-Eric Verne at the top of the championship. And that would mean that a win for Evans, if he started from pole, would guarantee him the championship lead. Pascal Wehrlein for TAG Heuer Porsche versus Mitch Evans for Jaguar TCS Racing in the final. And the first time we've seen these duels here in Monaco. Porsche getting ready to head out at the front. The light goes green, it'll then go red again, and Evans will have to wait for his green light, and then he will join the track. Evans' sort of comeback these last few races has been absolutely remarkable, and how he would love to seal that with a pole position here.
I think most sports are momentum-based, aren't they? Football, whatever. When the team starts, when you can get that going in the direction, it really helps the mental aspect of everybody. They feel they're doing everything right. Mitch Evans and at least one half of the Jaguar garage have got to be feeling that. Sam Bird, he's having a decent time. He's just not right now, just not having quite as good a run at it as his teammate Mitch Evans. But that can all change today.
Evans down into Mirabeau. It will be the Porsche that's first on track. Sun coming out here in Monaco.
And at this point, it's a warm-up lap, it's a preparation lap. But every time the driver sort of puts a bit of lock into the car, they can feel how much grip they've got available compared to the last time they ran. Okay, yeah, and that's just giving them information for when they push in about 30 seconds time, when they actually attack on their qualifying lap to see who qualifies on pole position.
Wehrlein through the swimming pool. Now out towards the Rascasse. We'll be just watching this normally. No split screen for this one. So we will just be watching Wehrlein first, Evans second, trying to chase in. Driver's eye for Wehrlein coming into Sandoval. He hit the wall on the exit here in his semi-final run. Got away with it. No such trouble this time.
It's plenty close though, using all the road to get back to the throttle early, pull up this steep hill. Anybody that's walked up here will know how steep it is. Blind into Massenet. Early turning, back out into the second apex. Oh, looks good so far for Wehrlein, but Evans is quicker.
Wow, this does look tremendous from Wehrlein, but as you say, the stopwatch says that Evans was quicker up into Sandoval. Now he's up round Massenet, right on the edge, and he's pulled a little bit more of a gap. It's a tenth of a second. He was right by the wall on the inside of Casino Square. This is beautiful from Evans.
Yeah, but it didn't look like it flowed as well, but again, he extends the advantage as he's nearly halfway through the lap at the Fairmont hairpin. But slow to rotate, he had to wait on the throttle. How much time is that going to cost him? Will Pascal Wehrlein be able to close that gap?
Out into the tunnel. Evans is extending the gap a little more by over 0.2 of a second now. This is a really strong lap. Incoming from Mitch Evans.
This is one of the key points, Jack, picking out the braking point for the chicane. Don't overdo it, don't lock the tyres.
Meanwhile, Wehrlein is coming through the swimming pool. Clouts the curbs on the left. He's catching Evans now. Oh, but he's locked up. Coming into Rascasse, he's still got it in. But the gap grows a little more. Over 0.2 of a second. Wehrlein out, across the line. His benchmark lap time is a 1:30.096. Evans is going to be in the 29s here. He's going to take pole position, surely, with the fastest lap of the session. He's neat and tidy through Anthony Nogues. And Mitch Evans' comeback is continuing as he takes the checkered flag and takes pole position for the Monaco E-Prix with a huge lap.
Yes, that's pole position, yes! Pace.
Wow.
Joseph Rocker on the radio informing Evans that he's taken pole by a 1/4 of a second. Wehrlein's lap was, what, the second fastest lap, third fastest lap of the whole session. Evans, absolutely rapid.
And again, the tyres they've done several heat cycles. Mitch Evans just getting the job done. Fantastic stuff.
Huge performance from Mitch Evans. His third Formula E pole position. His first of the season. And he will start at the front of the grid for the E-Prix later on this afternoon in 3 hours' time.
And he'll take 3 nice points.
And he'll take 3 nice points. So he will now be on 54 points at the at the top of the championship. So he is 2 points away from Van Dorn, 4 points from Freitz, 6 points from Jean-Eric Verne in the championship lead. He only had 1 point going into the Rome weekend. He is on a huge haul at the moment. Mitch Evans on pole position for the Monaco E-Prix. Superb lap from the Kiwi. Always pulls something a little bit special out, doesn't he? Whether it be that overtake last year that ultimately cost him the race win, but that was such a big advantage for Evans by more than 2/10. And Verline's lap was great.
Yeah, Verline looked phenomenal as well. But yeah, Mitch Evans just, you could tell just having a chat with him earlier how much. I mean, everybody wants to win at Monaco, but it means a lot. And he got so close last year. And he's, I think this afternoon he's going to lay it all on the line. I think we're in for a fascinating race.
I think we are, absolutely, because you've got Evans on pole. Verline will be second on the grid. Third on the grid will be Jean-Eric Verne. Fourth will be Stoffel Van Dorn. So 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 positions. And then you get into your De Grassis and your De Vrieses and your Lotterers all waiting behind as well to try and pounce. There's James Barkley, the team principal of Jaguar. This is how the grid will line up ahead of the 6th round of the championship. Sebastian Buemi will be at the back. Turvey will be 21st on the grid. Sede Camera and Giovinazzi 20th and 19th. Nick Cassidy made a mistake, seemingly, and went straight on at Sandoval, so he's 18th on the grid. Jake Dennis did the same and is 15th. Eduardo Mortara, 5th in the championship, down in 16th place. Sam Bird will start 13th after a 3-place grid drop. Max Günther just missing out on the top 10 for Nissan Edams. Da Costa will start 10th. The race winner here last year. Roland in 9th for the Mahindra squad. Nick De Vries is 8th. Robin Freitz, 2nd in the championship, 7th on the grid. Then it's the Porsche of Andre Lotterer in 6th. Lucas de Grassi for Rocket Venturi in 5th position. And then the front 2 rows, Stoffel Van Dorn in 4th for Mercedes EQ, behind Jean-Eric Verne for DS Techeetah, Pascal Verline for Tag Heuer Porsche, and it is Mitch Evans for Jaguar TCS Racing, who will start on pole position. We will be hearing from him in a couple of moments' time as he pulls into the weighbridge. 3rd pole position in Formula E. It's not the whole job done by a long, long stretch in Formula E. This isn't the kind of Monaco where the hard work is done in qualifying. A lot of it is, but there's a lot of hard work to come in the E-Prix as well in 3 hours. Evans will be very excited. A little thumbs up and a fist bump between Verline and Evans, who actually had a bit of a moment on track together earlier on today. In free practice, one held up the other, but neither of them were holding back come that final. And Mitch Evans is on pole. So we'll hear from Mitch Evans in a few moments' time. This is Mitch Evans' pole lap into Sanderbot. Now climbing the hill, looking up towards the sky, and see how late this left-hander appears. There it is. Massenet. Down right through Casino Square. Avoid the bump into Mirabeau. Hotel Hairpin. Couldn't quite get it turned around, could he? Portier. Now out into the tunnel. All neat and tidy. Into the sunshine. You can see the car moving around under braking for the Nouvelle Chicane. Now into Tabac. Into the swimming pool. Out of the swimming pool. A little bit of a slide on the exit of the swimming pool. Now into Rascasse. Anthony Nogues and across the line, and a picture-perfect lap for Mitch Evans that secures him pole position for the Monaco E-Prix. That 90 seconds has put him at the front.
Since the FP2, the car's been quite predictable, consistent, especially when you go into the duel stage. That's what you need repeatability, and that's what I had. So yeah, thanks everyone on the team. It's only a little bit of the work done today, but we've got the big one later on this afternoon, so we get it.
So I'm sure you can check out that reaction on social media in a few minutes' time. We'll be hearing from him ourselves, though, in a moment. And Pascal Wehrlein, who will start second on the grid, which is going to be a really fascinating duel. No pun intended, but during the E-Prix.
Bit awkward. Yeah, exactly.
Bit awkward, said Mark Webber, after he looks after Evans, but is also a Porsche ambassador. He's making his way down to where Nicky Shields is. Third pole position in his Formula E career, 2 wins in the last 2 races, and now a pole. So this is how the championship stands now that Evans has picked up those 3 points for pole. Just 6 points away from Jean-Eric Vergne at the top of the championship. And Vergne will be starting 3rd on the grid. Stoffel Vandoorne will be starting 4th on the grid. Robin Freins will be back in 7th place. Evans will be on pole. So we've got our championship contenders right up towards the front. Wehrlein is 7th in the championship at the moment. A good result here could make him climb up the order. Sims, Sede Camera and Giovinazzi yet to get off the mark. As far as Mercedes, as far as the teams are concerned, Mercedes still lead the teams championship, but those 3 points for Jaguar move them within 2 points of Venturi and move them within 20 points of the championship lead. But it will be Evans who will start on pole position for the Monaco E-Prix later on this afternoon. His first pole position in Formula E came in Zurich, the first pole for Jaguar in season 4. And his last pole came in Santiago in season 6. So it's been a while, but Evans is very much on a roll, and he's with Nicky.
Well, Mitch Evans, that was an absolutely huge lap. And if you're going to get your first pole position this season, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice in the first race, but obviously it's been a long time since I actually got pole position. It was back in like Santiago season 6, so it's been a long time coming. But yeah, it's been actually a tricky day. This morning wasn't amazing, but we've sort of pulled ourselves together and kept calm, and the guys gave me a really, predictable car. Repeatability is obviously important for the duels, so yeah, it feels really, really nice.
You've been talking about the incredible pace that you've seen in the car. Do you feel like you've got that today? Is that going to continue in the race? I mean, you've got some very quick drivers behind you, Jean-Eric Vergne, Pascal Wehrlein, Stoffel Vandoorne.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously it's nice to be on pole, but obviously the main ones yet to come. Obviously with efficiency and all that, with the way the Formula races are, you can't be too confident. But look, this obviously gives us a nice little boost. It's obviously nice to start with track position, and then we'll see how what the race brings. But obviously in Rome we had good race pace, and we just hope to continue that now.
Excellent. Well, I would now like to introduce Yves Robert-Chavot to come and present the Julius Baer Pole Position Trophy.
So pole position for Mitch Evans, and he will be starting at the front of the Monaco E-Prix later on this afternoon. Superb performance from Evans. He'll be on pole. Wehrlein alongside him. The second row of the grid, Jean-Eric Vergne and Stoffel Vandoorne. All of the championship contenders will be towards the front, Vernon.
Yes, they will indeed, Jack. And we're with Mitch Evans, his boss, team principal James Barclay. James, first of all, congratulations. But this momentum, it keeps going. Now we're on pole position in Monaco, and we've mentioned it several times, but you did unfortunately pee on our bonfire, Karun, by the statistic that we keep churning out, that everyone who sits on pole position wins this E-Prix. It's not that easy though, is it, James?
No, it isn't, and yeah, it's a magical moment to have pole position in Monaco. It's something very special for Mitch and for all the team. But this is Formula E, and I think being on pole is definitely a big step towards that. But we saw, 6 overtakes for the lead last year, so without a doubt it's going to be a fight. It's going to be very close, but it's a really great thing to sit on the first position as we start the race today.
But that last lap, to do the fastest lap of the whole session, when the tyres are a bit more worn and everything, did you guys think that performance was in the car, or did that come as a surprise to you?
I think Mitch has honestly built just really well through today. He's just built his speed and he's got more confidence in the car as the day's gone on, and I think our car's really coming to the sweet spot there. In fact, yeah, as you're seeing the lap now, I think I'm not sure if this is the start of the lap, but what you see, especially this first corner, is so important, and Mitch was absolutely kind of really nailing that first corner, and that builds a confidence before you get going.
Confidence, that's the word, isn't it? His level of confidence right now is absolutely sky high.
Well, how's your confidence going into the race? Because obviously you had, in terms of efficiency and race pace in Rome, it was brilliant. But this, in some ways, this is kind of a track which, like Mexico, it's a bit of a flowing circuit, isn't it, in Formula E terms? And Porsche are obviously very competitive there. Verline on the front row. How confident are you going into the race this afternoon?
Listen, I think our car worked particularly well around Rome. Our car and that circuit really gelled together. We've seen that form over the last few years. Here in Monaco, I think it's a lot closer. You've seen that through the lap times, through the pre-practice sessions.
You said that to me yesterday. You said it was going to be close.
Yeah, and it was super close. I mean, we were not necessarily confident that we'd be quite there in quali, and he's done an amazing job today.
What is it in this garage, James, that makes it so special? You've got the momentum, the back-to-back wins from Mitch. Sam seems to be, dare I say, struggling a little bit compared to the performances of Mitch Evans. But what's it like overall in this team?
Honestly, we are incredibly close-knit as a group, and I think what makes the difference to me is everyone is absolutely clear on what our goal is. We don't sort of point out blame. We don't point the finger when something goes wrong. If anything, the team just rallies together and pushes even harder. The drivers work that way, the engineers work that way, and that's kind of what makes the team really special. We built this team up from the people that are now seeing the success. We need to keep pushing.
And also, you've always said it's coming, it's going to come. Is this that moment that you've been waiting for now?
I think we're definitely seeing the right steps towards it. We can't be complacent. This is such a high-level World Championship, and it's not over until the last flag of the race of the season. But this is a great step to be in, and pole position today sets us up really well. But it's going to be an incredibly close race, without a doubt.
What do you have to do with Sam right now to just build him up a little bit, get him up to Mitch's level? Because we know obviously he's fast enough to do.
He's more than capable as well, isn't he?
He's proven it time and time again. But right now it's just not flowing for him. What can you guys do as a team?
Well, the good thing is he knows the car has that speed. He's seeing it with Mitch, and we can obviously look at where Mitch is performing and where maybe Sam has areas to improve. But he was very close. He touched the wall twice in his lap. He lost a tiny bit of momentum. If it wasn't for those 2 touches, he would have been through.
Shows he was pushing.
Exactly right. So honestly, these are tiny margins. Sam is a world-class driver. He won 2 races last year, and without a doubt, Sam will be back.
Well, yeah. I mean,
not your turn, my friend.
Was it my turn? So I thought you would. No, I mean, just coming back to it, you're saying, obviously Sam's got great history in the championship, but is there one particular area that you've seen him behind Mitch in the last few weekends in particular?
Honestly, it's small areas here and there, and these are not at this level, as you all know. It's not massive sector differences. It's small little bits and pieces in terms of what he wants to feel from the car, and that's what we need to give him as well. So every driver is slightly different in what they want. We just need to make sure we get him in the window with the car. But without a doubt, like I said, Sam's class is beyond question. We just need to kind of work together and get that there. And I think what we do see from Sam, last year he raced all the way through to finish well in the points in 7th position from outside the top 10. And I think that's what we'll be focusing on with a Sam Bird day today, some great overtakes.
Just quickly, James, is that race pace that you found in Rome relatable to Monaco? Can you stay in front today?
There's definitely some elements, yes, that I would say that relate to it. It is, as we said, quite a different circuit layout, more medium to high speed corners. We need to make sure we've got the setup in the window. Like I said, a very different setup for Rome for what we require here. So we need to make sure we've got the car in that window. If the chassis is working well, our efficiency will come, and that's the really key thing.
All right, thank you very much, James. We are in for one heck of a race a little bit later on this afternoon here in Monaco. Make sure you join us. The sun is shining. Hopefully you will be too. We'll see you then a little bit later for the Monaco E-Prix, all the way from Monaco.
Monaco, it's magic. It's a special racetrack.
There's a lot of heritage. There's a lot of history.
Oh, there she goes.
Every driver wants to win out.
Oh, what a move! Slam bam, and that's Da Costa out. Da Costa to the outside and to the lead.
Most special win of the year.
Calm down and tell me that I just won the Monaco E-Prix.